What is going on? Happy Thursday to everybody that's out there. Welcome back to the Old Fashioned Show. Good morning to you, Alex. How are you doing?
Good morning, brother. Doing great. Getting excited. I can't believe I'm having to take a break from watching the fine meteorologists over at Texas Storm Chasers to do the show. Looks like we're going to get some big, heavy rain activity today, a little bit later on this afternoon. Have you been following these developments?
I have not. I have not. I did. All I knew was that it's going to rain. But as a guy who lives where the lake kind of gets low, even not particularly in your area, I know this has to be of a huge interest to you, right?
Oh yeah, big time. And it's mainly for here. It's like if it rains at my house, that's one thing. I mean, I like it to rain. It's good for it's good for the plants. It's good for the vegetable garden, things like that, right? I love not having to use the resources of my well to do things like feed the vegetables or deal with the evaporation in the pool or stuff like that, right? So like the rain's always awesome, but where we need it most is over Llano. We need the Llano River to flood. We need Lake Marble Falls to flood. We need to open up Max Stark Dam and get some rain down here. So it's going to be a lot of. I worry for the people out in East Texas, like Lufkin, man. Like they're already at the flood stage at a bunch of their rivers, and they're saying that today they're at a 5 on the flash flood warning.
Oh wow!
They're going to get hit again with 7, 8 more inches, and it's like the ground's already saturated. They're already at flood. Like there's nowhere else. Like there's nowhere else for the water to go. They're gonna have to go in there with boats and stuff to help these people out, man. So, thoughts and prayers to everybody out there. And it could be a woolly afternoon in East Texas, but yeah, man, a lot to get to today. I just got done watching Germaine Lolle, who kind of a busy last. I feel like we haven't really done the kind of deep dive, sort of looking into Lolle, what he brings, how he fits in with the rest of the defensive linemen that Texas has brought in, but. In addition to that, we'll also go through Anwar's idea. I thought it was great. Is we're just going to go through and we're going to each unveil our our well thought out rankings after Anwar had the idea about 30 minutes ago to let me know that this was going on. So I had about 30 minutes to
really think it over. Technically,
I probably had 30 minutes to sit with it because I had to go. I had to get my iced tea.
Technically, I sent you the message at 7:35 a.m. Technically, it's actually 90 minutes ago.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I was quite awake yet at 7:35. But regardless, we're gonna rank these guys in order. I guess 10 to 1, 11 to 1, whatever it is. Not what however many they are. We're going to rank
10. Yeah, I hope you have 10. That with what's his face going into the portal.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I think we can just say that the number 11 right off. Can we just say it's Kendrick Blackshire, and we can just kind of knock him off the list, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
If you're not on the team, yeah, you're pretty much done.
Okay. But before we get into any of that, you said that you had something interesting that you wanted to share.
Something I want to show you. All right. I want to see Alex. I want to see your observation skills. Okay. This is observation skills. Okay. This is an ad put up by Fox earlier this week. Kind of a look ahead to kind of the big games in college football this season, right? And women's basketball, putting at the end. Does anything about this stand out to you?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess one of these games is NFL, but that's just because Brady's on it. Why is there a UConn girls basketball player?
Women's basketball.
Well, yeah. Why is that? Oh, is that what is? Oh, USC at UConn. Okay, so that's that game for the ladies. Recap of today's Fox Sports announcements: Tom Brady's Alabama at Wisconsin, Texas at Michigan, Michigan at Ohio State. A look ahead. So they got. So this Donovan Edwards, Dak Prescott, and yeah. So I saw it in the chat, but it's Arch Manning. it's Arch. It's so wild. I saw it, and I didn't think to myself. I can't believe I didn't think to myself. Why is that not Quinn?
Talk about the disrespect if you're Quinn Ewers that Fox is talking about stuff and they're putting their biggest name. They put Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, right? They're putting all their big name guys and they throw in the backup quarterback on the ad and not the starting quarterback.
That's wild, man. I did not see. Have they since re-edited the Photoshop?
No, no.
Gosh, man. Onward, what do you think about it? Like this whole thing about? So we had, you were at the, all the college football playoff week of wasn't that like the week of Christmas or something? You had to go, or the week of New Year's.
It's New Year's week, yeah.
Did you spend New Year's Eve up there? Like,
I was there for 5 days. I spent New Year's Eve there, New Year's Day.
Did you do anything on New Year's Eve?
Oh, yeah, went out. Oh yeah. I had a great time on New Year's Eve.
So but do you remember whenever the whole media scrum was all around Arch?
Mm-hmm.
And and there was the kind of the famous pictures where Quinn was there. He's about to be the starting quarterback. He just had the monster game of the Big 12 championship. He's supposed to be the star QB, the golden boy, and everybody's around the backup, right? And at the time, I remember on Orange Bloods and people around there understood. People in the mainstream media didn't really understand. It's like, I got it. I know what it's like to go to these stupid breakout availabilities with players. These table availabilities with players, right? That Bianco and them give you. Is it still breakout, or is it just like one at a time now? Because it used to be they were all out there and you could just go from one to the other. So at least you get some maybe 1-on-1, 2-on-1 time with these guys. Is it now just the whole media is around one dude?
So it's different. First of all, Sugar Bowl organizes this, so this is not Texas run. So
right.
So because of that, what it was they had certain guys on a podium, and then they had every player was available. So they had the podium guys there, and all the players were like to the side there, and so that's where people kind of was able to. They also had some round tables for some guys. Like I remember, like Keelan Robinson had a guy. So it was like the biggest guys here. Some of the other guys of interest, like the Jordan Whittingtons and the Keelan Robinsons and everything in the middle with some circle of tables. And then everybody who's like a backup player pretty much was to the side. But
you had your choice to who you could go be around, right? And they were all there available. Okay, now, all right. So that's the Big 12 championship that was the
Sugar Bowl.
CFP. Who that is not under the tyrannical thumb of John Bianco. Whenever they do it now, is it because
Mondays?
Yeah. So it used to be whenever I would go ask questions, like at the press conferences when Charlie Strong was there and stuff at the beginning of Herman, kind of basically before I moved out here. Like, does that? It used to be that they would give us players. They'd put like 7 players out on tables. You could just walk from player to player and you have like 15 minutes to get whatever you want. Now, is it just, you just get one player and the whole media has to be with them? And then they bring out the next whole media.
It's usually one player at a time.
Okay.
Sometimes they may be 2 going at one time. If there's like, one of the kids need to get to class or something like that. But usually they bring them in and it's for the most part, it's the same guys every week.
Okay. So that helps me illustrate my point here. It's like I understood why that happened around Arch Manning, right? Because the media, Bianco is the one who gives you access. He's not going to give you access to the backup quarterback, and he's an interesting dude that people want to hear from. You know what I mean? He's one of the biggest names in college football, but he's not even playing yet, right? People are interested in hearing from him, and they haven't heard from him yet. You hear from Quinn every single week, right? Yeah. So if you get the opportunity with Arch, I like that. I understood, but I could also understand how that might have pissed off Quinn, right? Or at least given him a little bit of internal kind of like this, this kind of BS motivation. Then there was the question at the spring game, whenever after he had gotten out of there, and the first thing that the girl asked him on the sidelines was like, tell us what you make of what you've seen of Arch, so far. Mm-hmm. And he's like, who? She goes, Arch Manning, and he's just like, oh yeah, he's great. He had a great spring, all the rest. But I think Quinn, man. It'll be. Do you think he's just a cool enough cucumber to where this just doesn't bother him, or it seems like it would have to always kind of be.
It's got you're human, right? I mean, like you're human. Like you know, even if you know it and you can kind of rationalize it, it's still gotta sting a little bit where everyone's talking about this particular person, and you're like, that's my backup, man. Like he can't be out for the job. Like and you gotta remember, like Quinn for his entire career, Alex, you know, he's always been the guy. Like he's always been the guy with the headlines, always been, you know, number one player in the country, like all of that. He's never had a shadow over him. So I'm sure for him, this is probably the first time, probably maybe since Pee Wee football, that, you know, he hasn't really been the guy, you know, as far as name recognition is concerned.
Might have been the guy in Pee Wee. Might have been the guy in Pee Wee.
Was.
If you think about it, yeah. You don't turn out to be the number one recruit in the whole nation by not being the number one guy all the way Pee Wee through high school.
That's fair too.
We have a super chat here from Jamari Lee. Thank you so much, brother, and thanks so much for everybody who's here today. Looks like about 150 of you guys have already piled in, and certainly more will throughout the course of the show. If you can remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel, we'd certainly appreciate that. It is a big Thursday. You've almost made it through the week. We're here to help put a big smile on your face and help you get right into the weekend here through our shows today and tomorrow. The super chats here, $4.99. Thank you again so much to our guy Jamari Lee. Morning, fellas. Morning, Jamari Lee. What's your rating on the EA college football cover? Who thought a Texas QB would be on the cover? Fire emoji. I've seen the leaks on more. Have they come out and said this is the cover?
I don't know if it's official yet. Like somebody
the leak I've seen is too grainy.
Yeah. Like I keep seeing leaks just like you. I don't know for sure if this is actually the original one. Now look, I know Quinn is going to be on the cover. Like that I do know. Okay.
That's something that you've heard?
Yeah, no, yes. Quinn will be on the cover. Like Quinn They took photos, I want to say in the Cotton Bowl or something. I believe everyone went to the Cotton Bowl and took some pictures. So, and Quinn was there. So Quinn will be on the cover. It's just a matter of how it's presented.
So I've seen one where, and you got like, I think it was Quinn on one side, Donovan Edwards on the other side, and the Colorado guy. And I don't know whether it was Shedeur Sanders or Justin, or whether it was is it Justin Hunter, the guy that plays both ways? Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Who's Justin Hunter?
I don't know Justin. I know his son. That's not true.
Okay. That's gonna drive me crazy thinking about who that is.
Justin Hunter used to be a wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. It's driving me crazy. Like,
I looked it up for you, Alex.
Okay, thank you.
He was a second-round selection in 2013 by the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, Titans. Yeah, all right. I know just who he is now. Okay. So if it's that one looks real grainy to me and stuff. I'm not sure it's real. That looked fake to me.
Mm-hmm.
But Jamari Lee saying that was a real, that was the official that was leaked.
It seems like there are things being leaked. So there are leaks, but I don't know which one EA is actually going with. It's like someone's leaking the proofs. And if you're EA, you probably have someone like leaking it and acting like, oh my God, I can't. It's just to build up the hype.
This isn't like a White House kind of cheap of staff, keep the lid on it. Like they like these leaks. It's kind of like the NFL schedule leaks that they put out. It's like, some guy that's just like a Miami Dolphins podcaster who's like, all of a sudden he's got a source that tells him what the week 4 game is.
Exactly.
That's the NFL saying like, man, let's get a bunch of this out. Let's get people talking about it.
Yeah. So I don't know. You know what, Alice, are you a video game guy? I don't think you are.
I'm working. My kids a little bit are. My kids like playing. They're only allowed to play certain video games and stuff like that, and they're only allotted a certain amount of time that they can get on there and play them.
Let me guess, educational games is what you. educational games, Alex? Like,
yeah, no, they're allowed to play Mario Kart, and
okay.
they can play. My daughter likes this one called Animal Crossing. It's like one where you just kind of go around and collect. One of these games where you collect money, you could buy a little tent and make your little house, and saying stuff like this.
Okay.
But my son plays the Cabela's Hunter game, like he can like practice some shotgun and stuff. But yeah, but I don't play. I never played much. Did you play much?
I played when I was younger, and then I played like in my early 20s, and I realized that in very early 20s, and I realized two things. I was like, I realized I became addicted to these games because I would just play all night long. And then I started realizing, you know what? I need some.
There's a lot of girls out there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why am I in this apartment playing some games? There's too many women. I'm in Tampa. There's too many women out here, and I just quit cold turkey. And
you and I had the exact same realization at about the same time. Not necessarily about getting away from the video games, but golly, there's a whole wide world out there for you.
Yeah. All it takes is one. All it takes is one to blow your socks off. You're like, you know what? I need to do this more often.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So, do you want to talk a little bit about Germaine Lolle before we rank these guys? Have you watched him at all?
Nope. I know his stats. I've looked at it. I've seen a little bit. I'll say like this. I haven't studied it. I looked at a little bit of his film. I checked the stats. I was able to put it together from there. But I think you've probably done more of a deeper dig into him than I have. So what have you observed? I'll defer to you on this one.
All right, so I'll go over a few highlights, right? And if you want to hear it in depth and get into all the numbers behind all of it, right? Go read my column. I'll put up later today on Orange Bloods. Okay. But for the sake of radio and keeping it easy. So here's what it was. He's playing his 7th season in college football.
That's amazing.
So the way that I look at it, so I looked at some of these different scouting sites because, as we'll get to in one second, Germaine Lolle has at a point in his career been a hot name NFL prospect. And so some of these scouting sites were starting to kind of watch him, collect information on him as early as the end of 2019. And I can't find his year of birth, but there are various websites that do have his birthday as collected as April 6th. Okay. Now, if he started college in 2018 at Arizona State. So if his birthday was April 6th. So that means unless he went through his whole first year of college all the way till April at age 17, right? That means that he's already 25 years old, right? So we're talking about a dude who is, if they're looking for experience, and Sarkis said that they're looking for experience, they certainly have. 25 years old is 3.5 years older than Byron Murphy. It's a year older than Micah Parsons. So it's like, you're talking about a dude that's he's done it. So 2018 Arizona State, he started out so in 2018, 2019 Arizona State, he was playing defensive end, right? He came in as a defensive end. That's something important to keep in mind because he plays a little bit like a defensive end still. With his hand movement, with his ability to bend, his ability to get around guys. Really good in space with that kind of stuff, disengagement, all the rest of it. So 2018, he was actually made a starter by his final 4 games of that season. And during those 4 games, 3 of those last 4 games, he actually had TFLs in those games. So he was really coming on. In 2019 is when he broke onto the scene, though. And you can see that, for Arizona State, it's like everything he was doing went back to Terrell Suggs in 2002, that kind of production, right? I'm not going to go through it all, but it's Pac-12 leading in this, highest graded player in this, highest percentage of stops in this, et cetera, et cetera. Monster 2019 season. Okay. 2020 was the season that was shortened, especially on the West Coast, by the government response to the coronavirus, right? Mm-hmm. But So he only played 4. He was a little bit banged up, right? That season, he only played in 4 games. I think they only gave him 6 total, right? But in those 4 games, he had, dude, this is crazy to me. And people talk about his 2019, but in those 4 games, he had 4 sacks, 2 QB hits, and 12 quarterback pressures. And by then, he was playing 3 techniques, so he had moved in. He had moved inside by then. 4 sacks, 2 hits, 12 pressures from the 3 technique. That's really absurd. He was already getting big NFL buzz by then, but still comes back for 2021 because he wanted to play one out after the cockamamie COVID thing. But then he gets hurt in 2021, tore his triceps in fall camp. Okay. 2022, he transfers to Louisville. He plays 2 games before he suffers a season-ending elbow injury. So now you have 2 years where it's just, out the window. 2023 was last year. That's the year that we're analyzing here as we're looking at him. Does this remind you of a Jalen Catalon, like Ketch says?
Yes.
Kind of the Denny Canile sort of, ex player that was super. What is this?
Just some of his clips from his. Oh,
okay. That's from the. Is that from the Louisville or that's from the Florida State game?
Yeah, this is from his Twitter account. So I figured we can put that up while you're talking.
Yeah, so you see a lot of the time he lines up at the 3 technique. This is verse. I think this is versus. Was that in the Kentucky game where he had the sack? He had 2 sacks last year.
Back. Hold on.
That was I didn't think he had a sack versus Kentucky. I'm not sure that was Leary. He did have the sack versus Florida State. Is this Kentucky? Looks like they're do you know what? I think that could be versus Duke.
Okay.
But see, if you see, he's got these outside swing moves, these hand movement, this stuff like this. He can line up over the tackle right there. That's a play where he was just left unblocked, but you'll take it. But see, he can also line up over the nose. Right here's a sack. This is a sack where he goes around, makes a big play. That was the sack versus Florida State. So you can see that he can do it from the nose as well. See, they ran a bunch of these stunts. They did a bunch of this stuff. Number 9 over here was a great player, and they do a lot of things to get him free. And in doing so, running these stunts, these twists, these games, it gives them the ability to set number 9, Ashton Galati, really free. That was a big thing that he would do. But as you can see here, lining up 3 technique. One thing that I would say is right there, what he does right there is excellent against the run. What I worry about a little bit against these zone techniques, kind of like this, sometimes whenever it's a solo base assignment like this is, he's good at getting the guy off of him. Where he struggles a little bit is versus the double teams as far as zone. And we're not going to see those here in the highlight clips because obviously he's showing his best clips, right? But that's where you can tend to worry about him a little bit. He does just a fantastic job there. That's the one thing where whenever you look at him versus Tia Oli'i Savea, whenever you watch them play, this guy right here, 90, Lolle,
hold on. I'm sorry, Alex.
He has a lot more juice than a guy like Catalon did when he came in. You could tell that Catalon was sapped. This guy still has juice, and where he has the most juice and where he wins, where you can see him winning consistently, is not necessarily always against the run, although you will see some good reps here for him against the run. That's a run stuff right there, plus a great play. But what you see a lot from him is this stuff where he can just kind of penetrate, get back there, force the quarterback up in the pocket, make those kinds of plays, batted passes, this kind of thing. He's really good at collapsing that thing, especially from this 3 technique. And what I think he does is he takes a lot of what he learned as a defensive end, where he was thought of as an elite prospect, and he uses that same stuff with the hand fighting, with the ability to bend, with the ability to get around the edge. He uses it just coming upfield through that B gap. Look at that, right? Like that's a very disruptive play that reminds you of the part of Byron Murphy that they like the most, right? The ability to affect plays on 3rd downs, right? The ability to get back there and pressure these guys. And that is where whenever you watch the two game sample of Tia Olii-Savea, it's a little bit different in that guy, despite being 17 pounds lighter, is a little bit more stout against the run. He doesn't get pushed around against the run quite as well. What he's not is this kind of whirling dervish that just gets back. That was a great batted pass right there, right? He gets back there and he just affects these guys, man. And I think that whenever Sark says that there is some kind of value to having this group of defensive linemen who can sort of make up for the guys you'll never be able to make up for just by adding two dudes alone in Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat, to add guys with differing skill sets, to be able to use them in differing ways. That's going to be what helps Texas. Well, Lolle and Savea, they bring different types of skill sets, but they're actually both almost exactly as effective on a per snap basis. They're both different than Bill Norton. They're both better than Norton. We can talk about how they're going to play. I think 90 here can play nose. We've seen him do a good enough job with it. I think maybe if you use him in more passing situations, add nose, Norton in more of the passing situations against the run. That's how Texas is going to have to do it to figure these things out this year. But he's a good player. He's a different kind of player, and he brings a lot to the table. He still has juice despite being a seventh year guy. He's not. I can understand how you can classify his profile as one of being like a Jalen Catalon. It kind of reminds you of that. But he's got more juice. He truly does. And look, if there's anything in your life where you sort of feel like you need more juice, you need to eat better beef. It's just, it really is true. I mean, you are what you eat, and you want to take beef from Texas Beef Traders. Ranch Direct, imported from Mason, Texas. You don't want to. You want a bunch of cockamamie vaccines. You want inoculations. You want weird like shots of antibiotics or steroids or any of this GMO feed that they give these different cows. Man, this is right there in the hill country, less than 100 miles away. You're getting your meat not only. Are you sure that it's American? Good luck finding that at the grocery store. You make sure it's local and it's delicious and it's fed and finished with all of the finest stuff. We're talking about bovine nutritionists on staff. Did you know the Texas Beef Traders in about 12 hours from now is going to get a brand new shipment for this week? How many places where you can eat meat that has never been frozen? It comes straight from the processor right to your plate. Sure, you could buy some of it frozen. I got a ton of frozen steaks in the back, right? But still, I know that I've gotten them from meat that was processed a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago at the very most, and it's delicious. You've never had this kind of steak. You've never had this kind of ground beef. Go up there, go see Shay, go see Darren. Let him tell you. Let him just show you the difference that Texas Beef Traders brings. It's right in the heart of Lakeway. If you can't make it into Lakeway, it's fine. Just call them up. You're going to get your 10% discount, but they're just going to bring it to you. They're just going to bring it to you. They wanted to show you what I'm trying to tell you guys. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. If you want to go hang with me, come see me tomorrow. I'll be there at 5 p.m. with my son. We'll be hanging out, having some beers, picking up some beef. TexasBeefTraders.com.
Alice with the tour stop. Hey, before I talk about Eric Torres, I'd be remiss if I did not say happy birthday to Jeff Ketchum, who's celebrating his birthday today.
Oh, Ketch. All right. Well, happy birthday to Ketch.
Yes.
Send him a little message in Slack or whatever it is.
Teams, and it's way too many of them. But if you need somebody who's on your team, you don't have to look any further than Eric Sells Homes DFW. Man, he's the guy that's going to take care of you. He's going to make sure you don't get taken advantage of. You're looking to buy a home, looking to sell a home in the DFW area. We have so many people from the DFW area that watch the YouTube channel. The stats are staggering. All you guys out there who show us love. So show my main man Eric Sells Homes some love. Check him out. Yes, the QR code right there. Just for some of you guys who are a little bit older, just go ahead and put your phone up to it. Everything else will pop up. Eric Sells Homes DFW. Make sure you check him out and make sure you tell him your favorite sent you. Go buy a house. It's about that time. All right, let's bring it back in.
All right. Well, we got our rankings for the so we've talked about Lolle.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. It's hard for me to – it's kind of – now that I've talked about Lolle, I might
You still got no one knows your list now, Alex. You can literally make a change. I tell you what, sometimes when we do lists on our show, and let's say sometimes on the fourth guy, like on the modcast or something, there are times I'm like, that was a convincing argument.
Okay.
Let's switch my guy around. So you're good, Alex. Nobody knows yours. So we're going to get Kendrick Blackshire doesn't count.
Right? So he's off the list. Yeah.
He's off the list. So that should leave us with 10.
And I would have put him at number 11 anyway. Right.
Fair enough.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
I'll give you mine number 10.
Okay.
So we're gonna work our way down. 10 for me is Amari Niblack, Alex.
Okay.
He's 10 for me. The main reason why he's at this point he's running behind Gunnar Helm, Juan Davis, right? You probably have some of his stats and productions from the spring game, but while he may be a guy that maybe makes a run when it's all said and done, right now he's in that third group of tight ends. You hear he hears so much about Juan Davis this spring. So for me, Niblack comes in at 10.
Okay. You and I aren't far off on that. This one was I feel like this was a gimme for me at number 10. And it could end up being so wrong. But it's Silas Bolden. And I haven't seen him yet. I think he probably will end up higher than that because he is a super gifted dude, really fun player. Reminds you of some of these guys on the not saying like Xavier Worthy, but just if you look at like recent drafts, these guys that are on the kind of Josh Downs, Xavier Worthy, Tank Dell sort of spectrum of, undersized, size, speed, kind of really fun players. Right. But I haven't seen him and I'm not sure, whenever Texas took him, I was like, man, that's a great pickup. That's awesome to have. How are they going to use him? So many more of these other guys. So I think for me, Silas Bolden, and it's kind of a lot still yet to be determined. He's the only one that isn't on campus yet. So it's hard.
Yeah. And you know what, Alex? Flip-flop mine because at number 9 for me was Bolden for the exact same reason. I baked in to my Bolden one rather, that he probably will come in and have a little bit more of an impact. So I did bake that into my rankings. And I almost considered putting him at the 10 spot, but I just felt like I anticipated going into at least the offseason, I anticipated that Niblack would have maybe walked out of the spring game as like at least a number 2. And so because of that, and it fell short of what my expectations were, and he's probably like, I don't give a damn who you are. But nonetheless, that's why I went with him at 10. And that's why I have Bolden at number 9.
Yeah, so I have Niblack at 9. And if I were to so you're saying that you wanted him to be the clear number 2 and not just like a 2-ish, because he was 2-ish in that spring game. They were letting him kind of work in more than we'd seen in practice at least, right? But he felt like he was more involved, but it wasn't like, man, it was always going to be Gunnar Helm and Amari Niblack. That wasn't how it was in the spring game. And I would have figured, I don't know. I kind of thought that was going to happen this spring on more, and maybe I was way off, and I could have been way off in my expectations based on what I'd kind of seen versus him and just the limited. And clearly, it was just I didn't go back and do the deep work on him that I did on some of the other ones because I remembered him from the Texas game. I remember I'm like, man, this guy's good. This guy's a pain. He's giving Jahdae Barron a hard time. And I was like, man, that's good. That's good enough, especially if Alabama really doesn't want to lose you. And so I thought that it would almost be like Gunnar Helm would have been left in the dust.
Yeah.
That could have been too lofty an expectation, because as it turns out, I've realized through the spring ball, it's like, oh, wait, is Gunnar Helm actually kind of good? It feels like I'm just now kind of, it feels like he's always kind of been there and always looked like a guy who's pretty good. Right. But, you start to realize, maybe he's finally really coming into his own, and you realize NFL teams are starting to notice.
Yeah.
So it was probably a little bit too high of an expectation for me, but yeah, I do have Niblack at 9. And you can move on to your next one.
All right, number 8 for me. Help me with the pronunciation here. Am I saying Teolohe Sevilla? Is that
I think that's probably right. I think it's Teoli'i.
Teolihi.
Yeah, Oli'i.
Yeah. Olihi. Okay, give me Teolihi Sevilla. As a transfer defensive lineman, but my thing is, Alex, when I looked it up, I mean, he's played in he's for a guy who's played in 29 games. He's only had 2 starts in his career, and so he looks like a guy who comes in kind of like you talk about, filling that role of just kind of rotational kind of guy, not expected to really start. Maybe I don't know where he would be in the 2 deep. I don't know if I don't know, but so for me, he's my number 8 guy, Alex.
Okay. My number 8 guy is another one of the defensive line guys, and that is Bill Norton, his teammate from Arizona. The reason I chose Norton, and look, if you're like a Ketchum, and you believe that, gosh, I can't. I'm looking at this chat over here. I'm not sure if we got somebody who's like needs help or whether we got a scammer or what's going on here. I'm not sure.
Here in a second. I'm interested.
If we look at Sevilla versus Norton, just their production at Arizona, the way that I looked at it, and look, this is just based on the Oklahoma and the Washington games, but those were against 2 games that Texas played last year. Those, like, Sevilla is just in a different category as far as his level of production. Now, does Norton hold up well against the run? Yeah, it's relatively well. He does not move well, though. And if you're like Catch and you think it's like a lock that he's going to be a starter next year, that he's just going to start over Broughton, which I don't think Catch is way out too. I'm not ready to say it yet. I don't think Catch is too far way out over his skis. It's not like Vernon Broughton's looked good at nose, right? Yeah. I'm still not sure. I kind of think Lolle might be, in certain situations. I know Lolle in certain situations would look better than Norton. So I've always said that I thought he's, he's a little bit doughy and doesn't move that well on his feet. And I do think that he serves a great purpose at a great position of need. And that purpose is, man, don't get washed out against the run like Trill Carter did last year.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. All right. Well, we're not that far off, Alex, because for 7 for me actually ends up being Bill Norton. So I think our top or our 4, at least as we come down, similar to just one spot to another. So it's like no real huge debate as far as that is concerned. Obviously spent 4 years with Georgia before he went to Arizona, and then I think we talked about this beforehand, Alex. My rule of thumb with these guys, Alex, is if you've been on campus 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, and you're not in the NFL, you're a good college player, and that's there's nothing wrong with that. But I can't expect you to be a stud. Now I'm just you. That's probably not who you are. But could you be good and serviceable? Sure. So Bill Norton for me is a step up from Sevilla, just because of the productivity that he did have at Arizona, but not a huge step up as relates to what you were. It's not a huge step up. What about you? What do you have at number 7?
This is one that you're going to disagree with, because I know this is your guy. But for me, it's Matthew Golden at 7.
Man.
I'm
disappointed.
I think Ryan Wingo's better. I think that Golden, I've thought from the very beginning that, and I'll tell you this, dude, he's put out some workout videos lately where it makes me a little bit worried about this. He's one of these dudes you look at, you're like, oh gosh, he's a little bit bigger and beastlier than I had thought he was, just based on seeing him out there in pads. So a little bit of consternation over that stuff, but I see him I just don't know where he really fits into like a constant. And I could be totally wrong. I know you've had the reports that, Quinn's got the best rapport with him and stuff like that. I get it. There's a ton of practice we're not there to see and stuff. I'd never really noticed that before, but I get that we're only seeing 15% of one practice, one day at a time. So it's like all we can take away is we can't take away any overreaching things like what's happened in aggregate over the course of all this time. I think Golden's going to make more of an impact as a kick returner, and I'd be happy to be really wrong on that. But I think Jonte Cook, Wingo, all these guys, to me, Golden feels more like a number. He feels more like a 4, and a really good kick returner.
Yeah, I think for me, Alex, and I won't shout you down on it, but yeah, he did have some time. Look, if we're being honest, right? And of course we are. I mean, Ryan Wingo is the guy who exited the spring with all the hype and a hubbub of everybody in that receiver room. Now, I don't know what the hell that means come, August and September, right? Because, you can be great. There's always guys who stand out in the spring, and that's great. And then the Bulls, then guys make their decisions. So I think the good part is I don't think there was that much separation in the spring, Alex, where Golden isn't really in the mix, for stuff. And so because there was some positive things about him, because of him as a kickoff returner, or rather punt returner, what he's able to do there, I find some value in that. So, but anyway, I'll talk about him a little bit later. Let me tell you what my 6 is. Number 6.
Okay.
Lolle is my guy at number 6. Loved your breakdown. I really shouldn't. Honestly, after your breakdown of him, there's really nothing else for me to say. I mean, I'll defer to what Alex says as my reason as to why he's number 6 for me.
So for me, after I did the low, so I view Savea and Lolle as being very similar, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and go with Savea at 6.
Okay.
And that's simply because can we just flip it up here so I can go 6 and 5 and talk about these guys vis-a-vis one another, and then you can just go to 5 right after this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so because it's gonna be Savea and then it's gonna be Lolle, and so like the reason why I have Savea beneath Lolle is because even though Lolle looks to me like he's a better run stuffer, it's just he's a little bit better. He's a fire plug, man. He's a little bit better He's a little bit better in taking on double teams and just holding up against the run. What worries me is he weighs like 17 pounds less, and you wonder if that's like that. Go out and get him, kind of try hard, kind of whether that's going to stand up in the SEC. Whereas I know with Lolle, even if there's times he gets washed out a little bit against double teams, he has just really good hand fighting skills, really good ability to rush, stunt, interior B gap penetrator, get upfield, get his hands up, disrupt the quarterback in various ways. That to me, if you at very least have that in your bag, even if you are somebody who's a little bit of a liability in the run game, that really does make up for it as far as a situational player. So I'm going to have Lolle at 5 and Savea at 6.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, that again, we not too far apart on this, Alex, because for me, that the 5 spot is Matthew Golden for me. So kind of was, the things that I was starting to say, and I was like, oh snap, I guess I still have to talk about him when it's my turn. But for all the reasons I said, like I think he was, did have a good spring. Heard good things, positive things about him. I think there'll be some carryover in the off season. And so, Golden, as a returner, who I don't know, I don't know which one of these receivers is that dude at this moment. I don't think anyone inside the building knows that at this moment. I'll probably have some stuff in the war room about that tonight. So, Golden is the number 5 for me. So only 2 spots away from where you had him. So I would say overall, there's no both of our top 5s, or I guess not technically top 5, but 10 through 5 is somewhat similar.
Yeah. I'm sure our top 5 will be, unless you have somebody way off the board. Who knows?
We'll
I
see.
Guess they can't be off the board.
I think 4 through 1 is going to be interesting because I don't know. I'm curious to see who your number 4 guy is. I know Actually, I want you to go first on 4.
Okay, well, I think once I get to 4, I'm talking about guys that could all be starters.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay,
Yep.
so and I put Andrew Makuba at 4, and
Oh.
I think I would have put him at 3 if it would have been like, man, he's the 1A and Michael Taft is the 1B through spring, right?
Mhm,
That just
mhm,
didn't happen. It was almost like it was closer to Taft being the 1 and Makuba being the 2 than
mhm,
it was to Makuba being the 1A and Taft being the 1B. If we're being totally honest about what we saw out there and what we saw in the spring game and everything else.
mhm.
So the fact that he didn't come in and automatically just assert himself as a starter, despite the fact it's like you don't transfer as a starter at Clemson to Texas to come here and not start.
Sure.
I think he will eventually start. I think Taft will play. We know they rotate in safeties; they just do. So he'll play, but I think that there are easier paths possibly to starting and contributing for my final 3.
Okay. So for me, the round out number 4 is going to be Javion Cole. So I went with Cole obviously because he hadn't been here yet, but I do expect him to contribute. Do expect him to be a key part. Do expect him to have an impact. Like I do like him. I like his film. He had some success obviously last season. I think he'll come in, have a good situation, good role here in this team. So again, you and I, our top 3 won't be too far apart, but that's why I put Javion Cole in there as my number 4.
So Cole is number 3 for me. And the reason I put Cole over Makuba is because I just feel like the pathway to starting opposite Manny Muhammad, whenever you look at Gavin Holmes, is maybe a little bit easier than the pathway to starting opposite Derek Williams when you look at Michael Taft, based on what we've already seen.
Yeah, it's
So,
fair. It's 100% fair.
and Cole's really talented and gifted. Like
Yeah.
Omar said, he's a good player if you just kind of watch him. So I'll put Cole there. But clearly, once we get to fall camp, if Cole's like lining up behind Kobe Black or something, I mean, that could also happen. And then you take Makuba all the way for sure.
Yeah, I mean, now that you verbalize that, I probably wish I would go back with my Makuba. I might switch it to number 4 and put Cole a little bit higher. I didn't factor in. It's interesting because I'm a Michael Taft guy, so I should have factored him into my rankings just because he hasn't given up that spot yet. I mean, he's still viewed as a team leader. So, but I did go with Makuba. But after hearing you speak, Alex, I kind of felt like maybe he should be at number 4.
Okay.
So, all right, let's get to our top 2 then, Alex.
It's tough, huh?
This is tough. This will be the test of all right because there's only 2 left on the board. It's Trey Moore and Isaiah Bond. Those are the only 2 guys that are left. So it's just a matter of who you got first. So all right, Alex, who's your number 2?
I wrote down Bond, but I think it's Moore.
Oh.
No, I mean, I'm sorry. I wrote down Moore, but I think it's Bond. I think Moore is the most important. I think he's like the top. I'm going to say Bond is number 2, man. Like I think that, but look, I think Bond eventually. I was just thinking earlier, I couldn't get out of my head some of these mock drafts I've seen with Bond going in the first round next year.
That's crazy.
And the fact that he got all the rest of it. But as I just think about it, I'm like, man, how badly have we talked about how bad Texas needs edge rush help, especially this year whenever the defensive line is having to be this sort of Frankenstein. It's disrespectful to say like an island of misfit toys kind of that's not right. But they're going to have to piece together skill sets from various different people to be able to even come close to replicating 80% of what Sweat and Murphy were. We can agree on that, right? Yeah. So it's just like that, having that edge rush help is just so critical. So I'm gonna have Bond at number 2 because Yeah. Okay. So you feel the same. Well, like
Yeah,
I had written down differently, but as soon as I was going to say it, I'm like, that's not right. Like, that's just not
yeah,
right. Um, but with Bond, clearly, it's like he's right up here at the very top because he was the one that was like the linchpin of the whole wide receiver stuff and the complete rebuilding of this room. Now, has he fired on all cylinders with Quinn Ewers just yet? No. Has he shown like amazing flashes? Well, yeah. Look at the spring game, and we've seen what he was able to do in the SEC already. It's probably the easy one of the easy. I think Moore and Bond were the easy picks to be 1 and 2. Choosing between them was what's tough for me.
yeah. I just didn't know if we were actually going to have a consensus on that one. So that Bond obviously for number 2 for even. Yeah, I won't let the spring game be the thing that I judge him on, because he did well enough in the other practices. So,
but he was the dude. But the thing we take away from the spring game is like target volume, like that's earned. That's like target volume. People say like, well, targets or whatever. That's not that isn't like that's a stat. Like that's a stat that shows skill, right?
Yeah.
That the quarterback looks to you, that the coach draws things up for you, that you're the target earner. Like that's a skill stat. And he was by far like I don't have the exact target share from the game. Cody did it, but I think he was like an Xavier Worthy like target share.
I was gonna say I literally was gonna say like it reminds me of all those times where like a couple of years ago when Quinn is like, I'm just gonna throw it to Xavier every single time. Oh, it doesn't matter whether we hit it or not. We're just gonna keep going. That's what that's a great point. And then that puts us at the consensus number 1, Alex, which consensus for us is both Trey Moore. Trey Moore for me is the guy that, I mean, Sark came out and really praised him just, randomly a couple of weeks ago and started saying like he really pretty much expects Trey Moore to have a huge season. I'll be honest, I was a guy that had just a little skepticism on Trey Moore, just as I say, okay, I know you did at UTSA. I want to see you do it on this level, but I've heard enough as far as what he looked like in practice. I heard, I've had stuff in the war room about certain moves that he's done that people have said like, well, I hadn't really seen guys on our line be able to do those kind of things. And so I walk away from the spring feeling really good that Trey Moore can have an impact for the Longhorns this season. So that's why he ends up being my number 1.
He's a good number 1 to have. I say Bond's a good number 2 to have. I mean,
exactly.
It's a good class of transfers, brother. It's a good class of transfers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Alice is going to be on rain watch for the rest of the day. But I think if all goes well, the internet doesn't fail us, we'll have the podcast at some point later on today. I believe that should be at 4:00. I'm sure all our practices will be rained out for all the kids, so nothing to worry about as relates to that. So we'll be back tomorrow. We'll have some more fun stuff for you. So as far as I'm concerned, you know what I always say, live each day like it was your last, because one day it will be. And Alex, you can take it home.
Now, here's what we do. We have almost 300 people in the chat, man. We need you guys to please like the show, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much to Specs for sponsoring the Specs chat line. Thanks to all you guys for being in the Specs chat line, making the show a lot of fun and interacting with us there. Thanks to Eric Sells Homes DFW. Thanks to Texas Beef Traders, our great sponsors over there. We have House Divided coming up here at noon, and then after that, do we not have House Divided?
No, we do, Alice, but we also have to do Specs now.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Cheers to you. Cheers to savings. Specs wine, spirits, and finer foods. World-class service that's all about you. Love our great sponsors at Specs. So listen, we'll be back tomorrow, but you'll see us on the podcast. You'll see Catch on House Divided. Go out today, man. Have a big day. Go do something big today. For Anwar, I'm Alex. We'll see you guys tomorrow.